Let's head out west and talk about some exciting juvenile prospects in the Del Mar Futurity. Hi, everyone. Matthew DeSantis here with NYRA Bets. Here are the preview of Sunday's Del Mar Futurity, going 7 furlongs on the dirt at Del Mar. It's going to be a lot of fun where the turf meets the surf at Del Mar. Now, before we get to that, I want to remind you to press that like button and subscribe to NYRA Bets YouTube today. Subscribing is entirely free of cost, just notifies you when new videos drop on the channel, whether those are race previews, full card analyses, handicapping and betting tutorials, weekly programs, and so much more. Folks, I wasn't lying when I said we got you covered beyond Saratoga, because we got Kentucky Downs content, we got Del Mar content, we're going to have Parks content for the Pennsylvania Derby, we got Belmont at the Big A, we got Keeneland, Churchill. We got you covered for everything, folks. So press that like and subscribe button today. My colleague, Kaylee Shapiro, don't worry, folks. Kaylee's taking some well-deserved time off. She's going to be back next week helping me out with a whole lot of content. So we're going to have some great stuff coming up for you the rest of this fall. But let's talk about the Del Mar Futurity. And this is an exciting race to talk about. Now, I know that the skeptics are going to be out there. I know the naysayers are in the comments. They go, Matthew, it's so many Bob Baffert horses. I know that. But here's the reality, is Bob Baffert's generally got the best West Coast horses. Now, I didn't this year. Journalism was the best West Coast horse by a country mile for that 3-year-old crop. But you talk about juveniles and you talk about getting horses ready for the Kentucky Derby Trail, you got to pay attention to who Bob Baffert's running, and seeing that pecking order early on as a 2-year-old, I think is really critical. I like following these races. And sometimes the horse that finishes second or third, they're the ones that actually make the biggest impression on me. I remember watching National Treasure as a 2-year-old and thinking, this horse has another gear. This horse is going to be good. And I was a big fan of National Treasure. I bet big on him in the Preakness, bet big on him in the Met Mile as well. But that's a horse that got better and better as, stretched out a little bit longer and got out of California. And, suddenly he was the one that matured the most out of all of those Baffert horses in that crop. So, again, didn't win necessarily all the time. I think it was losing to Cave Rock early on. So, again, interesting to see the pecking order here with this Del Mar Futurity. But let's dive in to this 6-horse field. And yes, 4 of them are trained by Bob Baffert. 2 are trained by Doug O'Neill. We're going 7 furlongs on the main track. This is, of course, where the Breeders' Cup Juvenile is going to be held in a little under 2 months. So getting that experience over the track, very important. Let's talk about Brant. That's where we have to start, okay? This is the $3 million son of Gunrunner. Not 1, not 2, $3 million son of Gunrunner. The only other son of Gunrunner that I've been talking about that's even close to that much money is a little fella named Sierra Leone, and he's a pretty good horse. He was $2.3 million. Brant is a serious horse and clearly a very athletic one, out of a Liam's Map mare, and earned a 101 Beyer Speed Figure in debut, going 5.5 furlongs in July, and stalked the pace, pulled away easily with Flavien Prat aboard. Flavien back to ride for Zidane Racing Stables in this particular spot. Brant, your even money favorite, certainly looks very, very tough in this spot. Now, the horse that finished second to him that day is the number 4 Civil Liberty for trainer Doug O'Neill. This horse didn't have the easiest start, actually hit the gate, got out up to the front end, but then was passed by Brant in the stretch. Does not have much of a pedigree. Sired by Independence Hall. Now, Independence Hall has not gotten off to a particularly good start as a sire. Only 5 for 43. Now, his horses are running a little bit better the more they get experience, but 0 for 25 first time out. Not a lot of precocity necessarily from these Independence Halls. Independence Hall, of course, only standing for $7,500. Out of a Tis Now mare, sold for $160,000, which is a good price for an Independence Hall. And O'Neill's, listen, I know we talk about Baffert, but O'Neill has a lot of nice 2-year-olds as well out there. Has Antonio Frezu up on the mount. And this one, again, had a good first attempt going 5.5. We'll see if the horse wants to go 7 and kind of holds its own going a little bit longer, but it's been working out nicely since that race against Brant. Gotten in 4 official works, 46-3 work, going 4 furlongs, a 47-2 going 4 furlongs. So I like the progression of Civil Liberty quite a bit. But the horse that I really like, and I think if anybody's going to upset Brant in this particular spot, I really think it's going to be the number 5 Desert Gate, who's the other Bob in this particular race. 4-1 on the morning line. You know what I love? That's 6 furlong bullet. You see it for Baffert horses all the time, whether they're 2 years old or 5 years old. When you see that 6 furlong bullet, that means they're ready to roll. Now, listen, Brant worked 6 furlongs a little bit faster, actually. Just didn't earn a bullet because there were only 3 official works that day going 6. He went 111 and 2. What you saw from Desert Gate was 112 and 3. So, take that for what it's worth. I will say when these two have worked with each other, Brant always gets the upper hand. That's something that's very notable. But one thing I'll say about Desert Gate, and this is an Omaha Beach. I love Omaha Beach as a sire. Big fan of this horse. I think Omaha Beach has a really nice future as a stallion prospect, and he's got a couple of nice crops in him already. Out of a Curlin mare, $260,000 at the OBS March 2025 sale. Not a lot, but I thought just a wonderful horse that has shown the ability to rate off the pace. Juan Hernandez stays aboard, has been aboard the first 2 times out. I think this one, it just does it easy. That victory in the best pal last time out made it look easy. Earned a 79 Beyer Speed Figure, but had an 86 in debut at Santa Anita. I think should have no problem going an extra furlong. I think Desert Gate is a really interesting horse. If you're trying to beat Brant, I actually maybe prefer that one over Civil Liberty. Now, when you talk about the other Baffert or the other Baffert, then there's the number 6 Litmus test. This is a good horse. Anytime, I'm a big fan of Nyquist as a sire. Everybody knows that. And this is an $875,000 son of Nyquist, purchased at the Fasig-Tipton sale up in Saratoga last year as a yearling, out of a Malibu and Moon mare. You get Tyler Gaffleone flying in for this. Yeah, you don't see Tyler flying out there very often, but Tyler flying out to Del Mar to ride Litmus test, another horse that worked with Desert Gate, got that 112 and 3 bullet on August 31st. So Bob's really tightening the screws with both of these. Should be in a good spot. I like the outside post draw, good early speed, but doesn't need the lead. One of the things that I will say about Bob's horses this year, as opposed to last year, man, his horses this year as 2-year-olds seem to be able to come from off the pace. Last year, they all seem to be need the lead, and they all seem to be milers or sprinters. This year, they all seem to be easily being able to come from off the pace, at least early on. They show the ability to pass horses, and a lot of them have pedigree, which would suggest they can go longer. And so, I like Nyquist as a sire. He might not get you a mile and a quarter. He might not get you that classic distance. We're seeing that right now with Nisos. There's some question marks there. But getting a mile and a 16th, mile and an eighth, Nyquist can do that for you all day. And then you get Malibu Moon underneath, which is a very good influence as well. So Litmus test, again, for Starlight Racing, very nice horse. And so ultimately in this race, it's hard for me to go against Brant. I usually try to go against last out maiden winners, but Brant is a horse that has just been so impressive. He does everything so easy. When you watch his workouts, they just pop off the page. Yes, he's your even money favorite. I like Desert Gate underneath. If you're trying to beat Brant, I think Desert Gate's going to be the way to go in this particular race. Litmus test, maybe at a little bit more of a longer odds at 6-1 can take a step forward as well with Tyler Gaffleone aboard. But for me, it's Bob Baffert all day and his 2-5-6. And Brant has the potential to really put everybody on notice that he's a real serious contender for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, because this past weekend we saw Ted Nafi obviously put on a really impressive showing in the hopeful up at Saratoga. So it's that time of year where you get to start to see these 2-year-olds start putting on shows, and suddenly it's not just who had a good maiden, but who can follow it up with another nice race. I think Brant certainly fits the bill. Flavian Pratt in the irons for this one. So for me, 2-5-6 in the Del Mar Futurity should be a lot of fun. Like I said, if I'm going to try to beat Brant, it's going to be Desert Gate. And that horse is sitting on a big race. And I would not blame anyone if they wanted to try to beat Brant and use Desert Gate as the way to go in that particular race. So listen, going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to watch this on Sunday. So make sure to watch it and make sure to play it on NYRA Bets. But until next time, friends, my name is Matthew DeSantis, wishing you a great and profitable day at the races and reminding you it's now post time.